It has been a day of direct confrontation, political confrontation, that is, between Prime Minister Modi and the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. Our focus today is on the Parliament face-off between the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi. Remember, this is a debate centered around 75 years of the Constitution. And at the heart of this debate is the question of rights, justice, duties, but also hardcore politics. While Rahul Gandhi pulled in Veer Savarkar into the debate and the BJP countered by quoting Indira Gandhi on Veer Savarkar, the Prime Minister hit out at the Nehru-Gandhi family and accused them of having compromised the constitution more than one time. Clearly, the constitution that was a big political symbol for the opposition in the Lok Sabha elections is an issue that the BJP, led by the Prime Minister, is trying to wrest back. How do we look at all that we have seen unfold in Parliament today? Let me introduce our guests on the program today. Remember, this is also a debate that saw Priyanka Gandhi making her political debut as Member of Parliament. Joining us is Dilip Cherian, image guru, brand consultant, political analyst. Always a pleasure, Dilip. Also joining us is Rasheed, Kidwai, senior journalist, prolific author, and somebody I say who at least knows the Congress, but better than anybody else, but also politics in general. Sumanth, Raman, political analyst, is with us. Always a pleasure to have you with us, Sumanth. Shubhrastha, who we're seeing after a really long time, political analyst and also a political communication strategy expert, is with us. And also joining us, of course, is Yashwant Deshmukh of Sea Voter, one of the country's foremost political pundits. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I want to start actually by playing out a clip of Rahul Gandhi where he pulls in Veer Savarkar into the debate. I'm not sure what his ally in Maharashtra, the Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray, might think of this reference, but when he started quoting from Savarkar's writings, for a moment there was a period of confusion. Some people thought this was Rahul Gandhi's own views. Take a look at what happened next.
The worst thing about the Constitution of India is that there is nothing Indian about it. Manusmriti is that scripture which is most worshipable after Vedas for our Hindu nation, and from which our ancient times have become the basis of our culture, customs, thought, and practice. This book, for centuries, has codified the spiritual and divine march of our nation. Today, Manusmriti is law. These are the words of Savarkar.
So towards the tail end of that reference comes the quoting of Savarkar. Later in the day, the BJP released a letter quoting Indira Gandhi on Savarkar. Before we play out the Prime Minister's clips, and those will be coming up shortly, is there any gain in this for the Congress? Rasheed, I'll start with you. Why do you think Rahul Gandhi brought up Savarkar?
I think Rahul Gandhi is very clear-headed politician. He's a little unconventional politician. He likes to say things that many politicians would actually dither, or they'll ponder over it, whether it's worth saying or not. But I think he's very clear, and he's started getting dividends of it, that there is a true, kind of contrasting, competing ideologies are there. One ideology of that being Bharatiya Janata Party or Bharatiya Jansangh, or we call it whatever, right-wing one, and there is a counter narrative. So he's going ahead with it with a very clear mind, and I would say with a clear conscience also. Mr. Veer Savarkar, or V.D. Savarkar, was a man on many parts. So you can go on sort of putting one part or the other. I have this sort of, for instance, this book of by Mr. Sushil Kumar Shinde. He has also praised, Savarkar. Every politician in Maharashtra, including that of the Congress, whether it was V.N. Gadgil or Vasant Sathe or anybody, they all have praised Savarkar, who lived for 82 years, man of, I said, many parts. And there were some parts of it relating to, social reforms and caste, etc., that are being very redeeming, and people want to talk about it. But Rahul Gandhi here Barkha was making a very important point, that here is a political party or ideology which did not believe in the constitution, in the national flag, in freedom struggle, etc. That is Rahul's narrative, and he has spelled it on the table. There is nobody in the Congress who can question it, because this is their core belief. We may look at it in the sense that it is not going to fetch votes, because in Maharashtra, Barkha, it was very clear You see, or in any coalition politics in India, the allies don't assimilate their political ideology. They stick to where they stand. Just to give you example, when MVA was formed, that kind of common minimum program, it had that Panth Nirpekshata. It was missing, that the word secularism was missing from the MVA document. So it was very clear. So, it's Congress, NCP, and Uddhav Thackeray. They know that, Veer Savarkar's legacy is not going to sort of unite them. Remember, Barkha, when Rahul's Bharat Jodo Yatra passed through Maharashtra, he spoke about Savarkar. So he's very clear-headed in that thing, and I think we should give full marks to him today, and previously, that he had never hesitated to call spade a spade.
So you don't think he's done himself any political harm by reopening the debate around Savarkar?
No, because it's very clear who in the Congress can support, Savarkar's, political, thinking that the Muslims should not get voting rights and all kind of things that are there in black and white. As I said, Mr. Veer Savarkar was a man in many parts, and there are some these things that are, and Maharashtra politicians have been praising, and they are being, and they are all true congressmen. Who was a better congressman than Veer Gadgil? Barkha, you had known him, or for instance, Mr. Shinde. So he's saying it, and so what I'm saying is these all things are very clear. It is not disturbing for the Congress or its allies.
Okay, let's open this up. But before we do that, the Prime Minister, of course, has made a full frontal assault, as it were, on the right of the Congress or the Nehru-Gandhi family to talk about being the guardians of the Constitution. There are many different clips of the Prime Minister emerging. We'll play one of them that talks about how this sort of tinkering with the Constitution started with Jawaharlal Nehru. Take a look.
उस समय के प्रधानमंत्री पंडित नेहरू जी ने मुख्यमंत्रियों को एक चिट्ठी लिखी थी। उस चिट्ठी में उन्होंने लिखा था, नेहरू जी लिखते हैं, अगर संविधान हमारे, आगे नेहरू जी लिखते हैं, अगर संविधान हमारे रास्ते के बीच में आ जाए, ये नेहरू जी लिख रहे हैं, अगर संविधान हमारे रास्ते के बीच में आ जाए, आगे नेहरू जी कह रहे हैं, तो हर हाल में संविधान में परिवर्तन करना चाहिए। ये नेहरू जी ने मुख्यमंत्रियों को चिट्ठी लिखी।
There were many other examples in the Prime Minister's speech. Of course, the emergency being one of the key references that he made. Dilip, Cherian, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra in her speech said, why does the BJP focus on the past? But then Rahul Gandhi brought Savarkar in. The Prime Minister, of course, as the closing speaker of the debate, has also rewound the clock and taken it right back to Jawaharlal Nehru and the emergency years.
I think the Prime Minister's effort, from what I saw of the speech so far, was clearly, the imagery was that I'm going to bait the Congress and I want them to respond, react, and fall into some kind of a constitutional, mayhem in the House. And I think if you see the body language of both Priyanka and Rahul, it is the absolutely, it may seem absurd, but confidence that comes from saying, no one's going to believe this. We're not going to disturb the House because it only create much more excitement in the BJP side. So I think that the Savarkar thing, I don't believe is really the thing which appeals to the voters, which a lot of people believe is the purpose of every speech in Parliament. I don't. I believe that every speech in Parliament, especially Rahul Gandhi's take on this, is to emphasize to the audience in Parliament, as it were, to his teammates and those across the aisle, that this is what our philosophy is. He is, in a sense, in somewhat education mode rather than in political hectoring mode. There are others who believe...
So you think the measure of the effectiveness of these speeches should not be by electoral consequences, but by setting the tone for each party's respective politics?
If you saw during the Prime Minister's speech, two ministers were rapidly taking notes, two of his own ministers. You know, I think that that's the kind of thing that Rahul should inculcate in more younger as well as senior people in the Congress, which is that it becomes a point, a rallying point for them to take further. I don't expect and I don't think that these kinds of speeches and these kinds of debates, and this does not extend to other, the skirmishes that happen or the issues which get raised. I'm not talking about that. But these formalized debates are meant for formal analysis and to say, this is our view, this is where we differ, and this is how we express our belief of what the nation and nationhood is about.
Okay, so a more ideological, analytical, academic
Yes.
conversation almost
Yes.
than actual campaign strategy. Sumanth, would you agree? Because actually, what we've seen in the last some hours in Parliament since yesterday has been analytical, but there's not been a moment of surprise. Everybody's actually conformed more or less to their stated positions. So the aim of it is a little unclear.
Barkha, I think the word I would like to use to describe this entire parliament proceeding, at least what's been happening yesterday, today, and so on, is more. There's only one word, and that's pointless. We've heard the same speeches from both sides for how many years now? I mean, the Prime Minister's been saying Jawaharlal Nehru did this, Indira Gandhi imposed emergency. My God, I mean, we could have used the earlier speeches, made a collage, and just played it out in Parliament. There was nothing in it. And Rahul Gandhi again, come on. I mean, there are 100 things that you can talk about, even if it is related to the constitution and and of course, issues which connect to the people. The Adani issue is hardly having any resonance on the ground. And you are now going on to the Savarkar issue, which has even less resonance on the ground. So I think that there is something radically wrong, which the Congress needs to wake up to and smell the coffee. They don't seem to have smelt it. None of these issues are really of concern to the voters. And even on the Adani issue, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has a very valid point, but he's not been able to put it across how this actually is impacting the common man. That has not been brought out. So my point is, they either Mr. Rahul Gandhi is doing it all on his own and ignoring the advice of the experts who can probably tell him the right strategy to adopt, or if this is the strategy that they are suggesting to him, God help them, God help the Congress. Because I think that as far as this session is concerned, it was a great opportunity to drive home multiple points. The economy is stuttering. 5.2% growth last time, and even that is, quote unquote, questionable kind of numbers. So basically, there are 100 issues to hammer this government with, and we are talking about Savarkar. I mean, you've got to hand it to Rahul Gandhi. I mean, it can't get more pointless than this.
So before Yashwant and Shubhrastha come in, because I have a feeling they'll agree with what you've just said, Suman. Rasheed, since you said this is clear-headed, Dilip said this is analytical, I think Suman makes an important point. Maybe it's analytical, but this is a debate where these leaders are being heard after a string of defeats for the Congress. It's also an opportunity to signal something different to the larger audience. You don't think? I think you agree with someone that the Adani and the Savarkar issues certainly haven't yielded any electoral results for the Congress thus far after the Lok Sabha elections.
So, Barkha, I think if we look at every election or every issue or every pronouncement with that electoral gain, I think the political correctness will not be there at all. I think Rahul Gandhi, since he has come in sort of active politics as Congress president and all, 2018 onwards, is very clear about this, that he wants to put the party's ideological sharpness out in the front. Whether 70% people don't like it, 60% people don't like it, 40% people don't like it. He simply does not care. And I think that is something that has got him a lot of dividends. Yashwant ji is here and he can vouch. There are a lot of political parties, Janta Party, Janta Dal, once they go down further, and they're over. The Congress has actually bounced back. in terms of, from 44 seats, 54 seats to now 100 seats. The vote share has remained intact, around 20% vote. Of course, it's not increasing, but it is not also, going down. So this is something, I think, unless, if the Congress, the day Congress becomes a, clone of BJP and what we call it, soft Hindutva, Kamal Nath line and all, the Congress will lose its identity. So why would anybody vote for Congress? So I think Rahul Gandhi's biggest contribution, according to me, for the Congress party may not be in terms of seats. If there is anyone else who can get them more seats, then that person would be most welcome. So that kind of thing, that, that sharp divide that he has brought in, and he's standing, and, he doesn't care about his own party men. There are a lot of party men, Barkha, you and me know, who keep harping on the theme of, soft Hindutva, ke majority community ka saath dena hai, we cannot ignore the, the Hindus and all this kind of things are said. But Rahul Gandhi is saying no, and, in 2024 performance was fairly good. To say that Haryana and Maharashtra are, a sort of reflection on that, that his prank on the reservation and all is there. See, assembly elections are not about, constitutional scheme. That
Okay.
get to know in 2029. But till 2029, 2024 template will work.
Okay. We do have a comment. I'm not saying this is reflective of how all people think, but Saurav Vishesh writes, academic and esoteric conversations of this nature, he's talking about the parliament debate, show how removed the parliament is from everyday issue of the voters. Stop wasting taxpayers' money and get to work or step aside. Now, Shubhrastha, before Yashwant, there's an overall political analysis. Yes, I think I agree with Sumanth that there's a kind of same old to Rahul Gandhi's interventions, but some might say that there's also a same old to the BJP's interventions, right? How many times is the BJP going to go on about dynasty? There are now 3 members of the Gandhi family in parliament. How many times is the Prime Minister going to go on about from Nehru downwards, even emergency? These are all issues of the past. Savarkar is also an issue of the past. I think if you go out into the streets today, most people will say, talk about our today or talk about our future. We don't want to have so much conversation about the past.
So, Barkha, if I break your intervention in 2 points, and I'm going to answer to both. If one were to really talk about the Gen Next, which does not want to harp about the past and which only wants to talk about future, then please tell me, of course, since Mr. Modi is in parliament with a majority and he's the one who is leading the government, I'm sure that there are governmental interventions that one can quote. But from the opposition side, have you ever seen Rahul Gandhi talk about artificial intelligence or this meta world that we are seeing, for that matter? So when the opposition itself is going back to Savarkar, then this government, which has always been about, even now till now, it has not. It has been about reacting to the opposition, current opposition, which they feel is the larger system. If it is reactive to that system, and the system itself is talking about Savarkar, then they will go back to emergency, and then they will, it's like that no ball to them, and they are going to play it to the best of their ability. Now, to answer your question on whether this is a jaded narrative or not, I would have completely agreed with you that these narratives are absolutely jaded. If the questions that Priyanka Gandhi raised, or if the question that Rahul Gandhi raised really came out from, as Mr. Rasheed Kidwai was saying, from some kind of an ideological churn which is happening in the Congress party. Right now, none of them, neither Priyanka nor Rahul, are coming to the forefront and saying that, listen, Mrs. Indira Gandhi's rule was a different rule. They came from a certain ideological cloth. We are absolutely different from that. We've moved on from that, that liberal yet conservative ideology. When it liberal in the sense that economically liberal, but conservative in sense of, cultural conservatism, we are absolutely different from that. We hate the India Inc. We hate Adani. We are not going to do anything to do with them, and we are going to take a certain ideological position which is very much in tune with the Kanhaiya Kumars of the Congress today. I don't see that kind of an ideological clarity. Rather, what I see right now is grass opportunism. They know that only by pandering to this kind of a rhetoric, they are going to be in the neoliberal circles. And after that, mind you, if at all the Congress party ever comes back to power, all these talks are going to go in the trash can, and they are going to met the same treatment to Adani that they meted to him in Chhattisgarh, or that they mattered to him in Rajasthan for that matter. So I disagree with Mr. Kidwai when he says that there's a certain degree of ideological clarity that Rahul Gandhi is moving towards. I think it's crass ideological opportunism, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I have a problem with analysts trying to paint it as this kind of a new Congress. Congress has always been like that. Whenever the Congress has been in the dumps, it has tried to appropriate the opposition, the smaller opposition's agenda, tried to make it national, and then come back to power. Look at what happened. I mean, if we go back to the 75, 76, 77, that time, what happened to the Janata Party government? Eventually, it fell down in a couple of months, and Indira Gandhi came back with a banging majority, not because of her own ideological clarity, but because she was extremely prudent as a politician and ensured that the Janata Party and the rest of the opposition was absolutely raised to the ground. That's the character of Congress. I have nothing against it. Frankly, the kind of business I'm in, I have nothing against this kind of political and electoral opportunism. I have a problem with this being painted with a moralistic brush.
Fair enough, and I hear you, and Rasheed will respond. But Yashwant, there are two strands of debate in this conversation. One, Rasheed and Dilip, who say Parliament is a space for something else. What's happening right now is 75 years of constitution. Both sides are, in a way, flagging what their framework of thought is. That's one side. Sumanth says that's pointless, and Shubhrastha says this isn't thought, this is opportunism, because there's no ideological clarity. And these are two completely separate ways of looking at the same parliament proceedings. How do you look at them?
Well, Barkha, two parts. I mean, as you mentioned in this debate, and the first part is that honestly, Barkha, I don't really want to understand Savarkar from Mr. Rahul Gandhi. I don't really want to understand Nehruji from Mr. Modi either. I mean, I'm being upfront about it. Okay. I genuinely believe that there is an entire set of freedom fighters. They were individuals, and no individual is perfect. Neither Mr. Savarkar is perfect, nor Gandhiji was perfect. They had their own flaws in the way they thought and like that. But whatever the debate was, they deserve the respect of being freedom fighters because they did fight for the freedom of our country. That's where I come from. And I don't find any political leader, everybody sitting in the parliament, having even an iota of even 1 degree of, what should I say, capacity, or having, that they should be commenting on these people. Be it Savarkar, be it Nehru, be it Gandhiji. First thing first. Okay. Second thing, on the real politics side of it, I mean, after the debacle of Haryana, after the debacle of Maharashtra and everything, I agree with Sumanth that, this was the point where they could have seized the momentum and taken the debate on the problems that the country is facing, take it into that line. And it's funny, and I will, even though, I mean, Yogendra is not here, but this kind of intellectual debate, like what one of your viewers actually, it was very interesting line what he posted. This suits Mr. Yogendra Yadav. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is supposed to do real politics. What is happening is Rahul Gandhi ji is doing what Yogendra Yadav ji is supposed to do, and Yogendra Yadav ji is doing what is Rahul Gandhi is supposed to do. All right, and that tells you precisely the mess that Congress is in. जिसका काम उसी को साजे और करे सो मूर्ख बाजे. The problem is they are just confused in what their roles are. I'm happy to read a column by Yogendra ji on why Savarkar was wrong and Nehruji was right. Most welcome. I know where he's coming from, how much he must have read a zillion books and come up with a thought process. I'm willing to read it.
Yeah.
So what did they get out of it? Honestly speaking, this entire debate, barring their own corners clapping for them and like that, what did me, Barkha, Shubhrastha, Dilip, I mean, all of us, what did we gain out of today's debate? Any 1 point? Anyone? No. And as Shubhrastha just mentioned, it was a free hit. in terms of T20. You bowl a no ball, you give a free hit. And what better batsman than Narendra Modi to utilize a free hit? Because the finer nuance of this debate might be appreciated by some really learned person like Rashid Bhai. I mean, that's fine. Dilip, I mean, those who are knowledgeable, fine, it's fine. But come to think of it, me and you and Rashid Bhai are not the common voters of this country. All right, let's segregate ourselves. We are a kind of elite in this country. I understand that. We like to debate it that way. But as far as the common man's day-to-day problem, their day-to-day life is concerned, the kind of economic distress that we are witnessing for the last almost 3.5 years in this country, not even a single point of time I have seen Congress or any opposition leader really making a great debate about it. No. Ambani and Adani and Ambani is fine. From the locus study is fine. But can the Congress take it a point that, okay, here onward, no Congress ruled government will ever deal with either Ambani or Mr. Adani?
I think you've said two really important things. One, that you don't want to understand Savarkar from Rahul Gandhi, nor Nehru from Modi, because I think most Indians know that they're both speaking from political perspectives, and nobody can be put into a narrow silo and in the way that our politicians sometimes try to do. The second point is, what was the point of this? Rahul Gandhi is doing a Yogendra Yadav. And it's okay to have these esoteric conversations with Yogendra Yadav, but that's not who Rahul Gandhi is. Sumanth, I know you have to leave a little early, so let me get a quick word in from you, and then we'll go on to the others.
The onus in this session, the onus in this session was on the opposition to put pressure on the government. I mean, the government is sitting pretty. What is the problem for the government? I mean, they've just, the BJP has just come off a big win in Maharashtra, much against the odds. And they are sitting pretty. They've had a victory in Haryana a month and a half before that. So what is the problem that the government has to do? The government is more than happy to debate Savarkar, to debate Nehru, to debate Gandhi, to debate whoever for till the cows come home. They have no problem. It is for the Congress, it is for the opposition, the India Alliance, to bring forth issues that can pin the government down. And I mean, calling it a no ball, I would, this is more than a no ball. It's a no ball. It's a free hit. You can call it whatever you want, but they are bowling full tosses to be clobbered into the stands. And this is something that is not great for parliamentary democracy, because the opposition is simply not up to the task at the moment. I'm sorry, but that's the fact that we need to face. If the public on the streets have got dozens of issues to take up against this government, and the opposition is not taking it up. There are, individual organizations that are filing cases against the government, which the opposition should be doing. So I think it's a complete failure of the opposition parties. And, this speech from Mr. Modi, even he would not have anticipated that he just has to regurgitate what he has been saying for the last so many years. For him also, it would have been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. So those are strong words from Sumanth. Sumanth, I know you have to go, so just stay as long as you can, but we'll keep the debate going. Dilip, bowling full tosses, for free hits, lots of cricket analogies. But I think what we're hearing from the three other guests outside of you and Rasheed is the opposition has wasted a chance. They had a chance, they had a moment, they had a stage, and they've wasted it. Do you agree?
I think that they have wasted it. And I think that there was probably more of a polemic that could have had impact on voters as a possibility. But I again hasten to make the point that to some extent the strike on Savarkar and some of the other stuff clearly had an impact. Because the BJP, I know for certain, went into a huddle to figure out how to respond to the Rahul Gandhi barbs. And clearly a lot of heavy hitters were pulled in at that point of time to see how it could be built on in terms of the rhetoric in Maharashtra. How could it be played in such a way that the victory in Maharashtra would be emphasized by what was being said, qua the emergency, etc. So I think that it's not correct to string along the narrative that it has had no impact on the BJP. I worry about the fact that it will have no impact on the general electorate, which, as Shubhrastha has said, and as my friend Mr. Deshmukh says, there, Yashwant's point that these are all issues we don't need to hear from either party, and that they should have gone for the gullet, that was missing. And I think Rahul, for some reason, chose or wanted to show that he is speaking from a very high pedestal. Not necessary, but that's the posture he chose. Waste of time. That's
okay. Okay, so Subrata, I think Dilip makes an interesting distinction between who was being aimed at, who are the barbs aimed at, and says, yes, no impact on general electorate, but it did push the BJP into a huddle. The BJP had to pull out an old letter which showed Indira Gandhi quoting Savarkar and so on. And to that extent, the BJP didn't ignore Rahul Gandhi's barb. It had to react. And that maybe was the aim. I don't fully understand that aim, but both Rasheed and Dilip seem convinced that Parliament is about a different kind of jousting. It's not campaigning at the hustings, as it were. What do you say?
Absolutely, Barkha. Not only is Parliament not about, political jousting on the street, I think Parliament should ideally have been, with this kind of a mandate, more about policy discussions, but sadly that hasn't happened. Now, in order to respond to Dilip, I think if if the BJP, to paraphrase him, is trying to toe the Congress's agenda of seeing Rahul Gandhi as a serious leader, let me tell you that it is BJP's strategy to actually jostle as much as possible with Rahul Gandhi. It works in its favor. This whole concept of this whole idea that they started quoting old letters, but they have been doing it ever since 2013-14. They have been exactly doing this, but showing that historically Congress has wronged this nation. I have campaigned in the Northeast for the BJP, and let me tell you, I think it happened for the first time in political campaigns that the entire campaign was based on history. The first time the governments came to power in the Northeast, all the 7-8 states, it was all about history. That has been the policy of the BJP, and it's an ideological position also that they took. My problem is this: even if you want to go ahead and debate history, I think Yashwant makes a very interesting point when he says, I don't want to understand Savarkar from the Congress, or Nehru from the BJP. Also, because the very same Congress and the very same BJP in the past has venerated Savarkar and has venerated Nehru both, and has venerated Indira Gandhi also. So I don't understand this current positioning of looking everything in black and white. Also, I think this election, again, I keep going back to this election because that's the most recent one. I think this was a point in time when both the political ideologies, and not just parties, really should have taken a chill pill, sat with a champagne or Gangajal, whatever suits their mentality. They should have sat down and understood that life in India will always exist in gray. It's a dharmic nation. It is not particularly religious. I think these are conversations which none of the political parties and ideologies are comfortable having even today. For example, if I were, and I say it with a lot of common man arrogance or a woman arrogance, if I were a Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, I would have ensured that I did my homework really well before I ventured and spoke, gave my first historic speech in the parliament, because of my resemblance to Indira Gandhi and all of that. And I wouldn't have raised the issue of Himachal farmers for that matter. That's my government in power. I would not have raised issue. I would have definitely paid homage to my ancestors, people who actually built the constitution, made the constitution. I would have taken Dr. Ambedkar's name with full, respect and veneration. I wouldn't have ignored Ambedkar like Nehru did. I would have also pushed the ambit of the conversation, like perhaps that's what Mr. Kidwai is trying to hint at, that Rahul Gandhi is really pushing the ambit of the conversation. I would have done the same, but I would have done the same by going back to my cultural roots. And in Hindi, when we say Purkhe Purkhino ko yaad karke, I would have mentioned Dakshayani Velayudhan, and I would have said that she was the first Dalit, the only Dalit woman in the parliament, alongside Savarkar, who had a very interesting take on reservation. She had the guts to actually oppose Ambedkar right there in the first, Constituent Assembly debates. These were historic moments. I would have mentioned Tarkeshwari Sinha. I come from Nalanda. Tarkeshwari Sinha, first, a woman MP from Nalanda, went to LSE
Yeah.
on her own merit, not because her father was the who is who. Then made a huge mark as a member of parliament. Nalanda still has, a lot of not just cultural but policy markers of Tarkeshwari Sinha's vision.
Yeah.
I would have thought that as ladki hu lad, somebody who gave ladki hu lad sakti hu, kind of a slogan, I would have paid homage to my Purkhins. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
Priyanka Gandhi Vadra really, really disappointed.
Rashid, do
I
you
went on
think
a
that
rant
Priyanka
there.
also? Yeah, that's okay. You're allowed to
Uh,
rant.
I think,
Continue,
Barkha, all of
Rashid.
us
Yeah.
have a sort of have a view. I have seen a lot of first timers, including many from the Nehru-Gandhi family, speaking their maiden speech, including Sonia Gandhi. I think in that, if you look at all those people, if we take let's say a sample size of 50 first timers, I think Priyanka did fairly well, and her speech was fairly good. Nothing great, but it was a good speech. It was at least when she speaks, it lands, it delivers. It's that messaging. Of course, we all have our point of view, and we may disagree. To say that Nehru didn't care for Ambedkar, if he didn't care for Ambedkar, why he appointed him in the minister? Mr. Ambedkar had lost his own election also. So these are all history can be used for, and that is why I feel this, this occasion of 75 years of Indian Constitution and the kind of debate, whatever it is. See, Barkha, we must understand. We look at globally, democracies coming under strain. There are a lot of problems and challenges. What Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, and many other, social political scientists had propagated. Maximum happiness to maximum number. This is all coming under strain, not only in India but all over globally, and therefore there is a more compelling reason to put that out. Political correctness is in short supply. If I talk about my community, my caste, this thing, it brings bigger dividends. And to say that Rahul Gandhi's story is a flop show and is good for nothing, it's a political rhetoric. It's on the contrary. If you see it, we have first passed the post system, Barkha, and everybody, including the Congress, has been a beneficiary. It is not that the Congress votes are going down. You look at Haryana elections, the Congress actually voters have gone up. In Lok Sabha election, voters have gone up. It's in Maharashtra, of course, it's a sort of depressing story for the Congress. But fact of the matter is that vote is also matters. So to say that, what Mr. Modi is saying, of course, he has a committed vote bank, and the floating votes are also coming, and the middle class, all of them. So it's a combination of it. But Mr. Rahul Gandhi is not, off the mark totally, because it's not a loser's argument, Barkha, I would repeat. He may not be winning states, but at least the voter is not going away. In fact, the newer voter is coming in.
Okay. Let me give on that very important cue the last word to Yashwant. How would you assess what's happened from June to December? In June, we were talking about a Congress that was on the mend. Again, I'm not using the word resurgent, but a Congress on the mend. Rasheed seems to say that despite the defeats in the assemblies, the Congress is still on the mend. And when you look at the data, when you look at the trends, what do you see? And do you think that Rahul Gandhi or Priyanka Gandhi could have said something different in Parliament that could have changed the narrative, or do people not get so involved in a Parliament debate?
Okay, Barkha, you remember the day Maharashtra election results were out and we were having a discussion, and I said that this is the bigger than Mandal and Kamandal thing. And
Yes.
and
Yes.
that day I said it's going to change Indian elections forever, because it was the confirmation day of the women vote bank arriving in not just deciding factor but dictating factor, the way it would have happened. Now, from that perspective, actually, I was expecting Priyanka Gandhi to use this huge opportunity to become the face, because you see, come to think of it, Barkha, she is the most prominent female face as on today in the Lok Sabha floor, regardless of which party she belongs to, with the kind of name, fame, family name, history, everything coming in. And with the line just Shubhrastha just said, because I was very much impressed by her Ladki Hu Lad Sakti Hu campaign in UP. Even though Congress got only 2% and 1 seat, I said that, it was just because of bipolarization of UP that she had to suffer. Otherwise, her campaign would make great impact. And I genuinely believe it was her campaign which also helped the opposition campaign in UP big time. So she had started that, and somehow she missed that entire, female leadership option or female leadership quotient, or that entire huge thing, which is the new kid on the block, if in that way, she just missed it. I think she should have hammered it down on the female politics of India. 33% reservation coming in, and being the most prominent female face in Lok Sabha right now, she could have taken it to the next level. I hope she does, for the betterment of the debate, the quality of debate, and everything. Now, coming down finally to what has happened, I understand Rasheed Bhai's point. We need this kind of discussion, is fine. But these kind of discussions, okay, the floor of the house, once in a while, it's fine. Losing time of the house every time you are in the session to going back to the same rhetoric, I think that's a wastage. Because honestly, Barkha, come to think of it, all the last 30 years, the debates in the parliament, I guess that if you look into the role of opposition, how the opposition parties have debated, I think when the BJP used to be in opposition, the kind of leaders, kind of speakers BJP used to have, from Sushma ji to Pramod Mahajan to Arun Jaitley and everybody, it was a delight to watch them speak. The TRP of the parliamentary proceedings used to be sky high. It never happened in that way. Compare that to the role of opposition or the quality of the debate of the opposition that is today. I think, barring a few, like Mahua speaks absolutely amazingly on the floor, but all the great speakers are coming from the non-Congress opposition right now on the floor. I don't see many faces from the Congress side जिनको बैठ के लगे अरे यार ये बोल रहा है चलो सुनते हैं. Unfortunately नहीं है. When BJP was in opposition, लोग सुनने के लिए बैठ जाते थे, even for entertainment सुनने के लिए बैठ जाते थे कि मजा आएगा सुनने में. Even कांग्रेस के भी लोग बैठ करके enjoy करते थे. That kind of sharpness and that kind of presence of mind or thing, वो नहीं रह गया है. It is much more predictable. You can very well predict कि राहुल जी खड़े होंगे तो क्या बोलेंगे, खड़गे जी खड़े होंगे तो क्या बोलेंगे, and you can also predict कि इन्होंने ये बोला है तो मोदी जी क्या बोलेंगे. So that predictability of the parliamentary debate has taken the fun away from it.
I think that is a very interesting point. There was a time when parliament videos could be viral. That doesn't happen that often now because, even if it has to be an intellectual exercise, and that's great, there should be some new thought and some new rhetoric that emerges, perhaps at least some good jokes. One misses that. Humor is always a great thing in politics, and we seem to have lost a little bit of that. Thank you very much. We leave it there. Rasheed, Dilip, Yashwant, Shubhrastha, and earlier to Sumanth. Have a great weekend and see you all very soon. Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.